So I'll talk about two things. But first of all, I'd like to give you just a quick overview of what we like to achieve with the report, what we like to say. And that will build on the outline that has been discussed with some subsequent discussions. And secondly, I'd like to say something briefly about the ERD process, so where we are at the moment in terms of the sequence of consultations, before Jan will discuss what exactly we did at the previous consultations a couple of weeks ago in Maastricht. So Ina explained basically that we were looking at natural resource management for inclusive and sustainable growth in the context of increased scarcity and climate change. What role for the public and the private sector? Now in your pack you've got your one-page taxonomy, and I think that it may be helpful just to unpack it a little bit. So the key issue that we're looking at is natural resource management in the context of inclusive and sustainable growth. So there is an important emphasis on thinking about inclusive and sustainable growth in a number of ERDs, so the previous ERD, this ERD, and this ERD, 2011-12, will be on natural resource management for inclusive and sustainable growth. And then we're particularly interested in the role of the public and the private sector within this. Now, this is of course an old topic, natural resource management, but there are also some new trends and new things happening, and that's been documented, but that gives us a new context within which we look at natural resource management. So the new context is one about sort of increased scarcity and climate change, and in particular there's increased scarcity in a number of interrelated resources, water, energy and land, what we call the well nexus. And this really means that the world is different. It's changing, and business as usual cannot be the case. And that's what Dirk mentioned in his introduction, and that's actually something that we also put, for instance, to Justin Lin. So one example of what we're doing is also to engage with a number of stakeholders within consultation, but also outside. And so Justin Lin is thinking about growth identification, facilitation. He's got this very interesting paper out, how do you think about growth models? And then basically we put to him, well, we're looking at the European Report on Development, and what we're charting out here is some trends about the demand for energy, demand for water, for food, that will grow very fast indeed, according to current predictions, and that will mean a number of threats as well as opportunities to inclusive and sustainable growth in poorer countries. And what we're arguing is saying, actually, things are not the same as they were before. And we put that to Justin Lin, basically how would you change your model? And you can find the answer in the pack, and it's forthcoming in, I think, the Financial Times as part of on Africa. It's basically a two-way debate. But things have to change. Now we're looking at three sectors, and in particular, so we're looking at land, we're looking at water, and we're looking at energy. And in particular, we're interested to think about how do you manage these resources for inclusive and sustainable growth, given that there are these external drivers, this new context. Previously we talked about land, and today we're hoping to hear on water, and tomorrow on energy. And I'm very pleased that we have the key experts, the world experts on water here today. So who have been working on water for a long time within DIE and in ODI. So Ines sitting there, who will be leading the water work together with Roger Kellogg. So we are interested to think about how these resources can be managed for inclusive and sustainable growth, and in particular with the role of public policy within this and the role of private actors as well, and in particular then going beyond that about the interaction between public and private sector. That's something that we think is also important. So too often there are textbooks about this is what the public sector can do, this is what the private sector is, but actually we're very interested to think about the interactions between the two, because often we're talking about collective action problems. If you want to change the way things are going, there's very often a collective action problem, and you need to think about how to join different actors and stakeholders, the public and the private sector. How can this be done? So we're thinking very much about also incorporating public economy type of analysis and governance analysis in this. Now then, once we have these attentive chapters on the sectors, we're then hoping to have a number of chapters on sort of discussions on policy implications, and we're thinking about what are the implications for business, how they do their things. Maybe business are already engaged in a number of initiatives that are particularly helpful to increase sustainability. And we'd like to chart that and basically why do they do that? Why do they go beyond their core business in terms of thinking about sustainable development? And what characterizes their partnering process and so on. But also, of course, realizing that business on their own is unlikely to solve the issues. They're too big. And of course, the most important chapter is likely to be on the implications for public policy, in particular for governance, which you then tie together the evidence from the chapters, putting it in a very broader framework about what is it that developing countries need to do, could be doing in order to manage their natural resources better, given these new challenges that are out there, these new threats as well as opportunities. And then the final chapter, we're hoping to discuss the role of the EU in this. And we're not thinking only about the EU as a role of a grant provider. We're very much thinking much wider. So the EU can help in a number of respects. It can help engaging with partner countries, of course, with regions. It can also engage globally in international fora, for instance, the Rio +20 conference and in other fora. It can engage not only with governments but also with the private sector and with civil society as well. So it has a number of issues that it can do, and we're also hoping to pick up the important topic of policy coherence for development here. That there are, of course, a number of non-aid policies that are likely to have major impact on the way natural resources are managed in the context within natural resources are managed in developing countries. Think about, for instance, the renewable energy policy in the European Union. That one-page taxonomy is basically translated into this particular picture, which some of you may have seen already from the previous discussion. So we've got drivers, external drivers that provide for a new context, and that new context has a number of routes through which it affects developing countries directly. There are more pressures on water allocation issues, for instance, and also indirectly, something that Dirk was mentioning already, via prices, for instance, value of ecosystem services, for instance. So because there's a scarcity of, or there's a high demand for food in developed and emerging markets, and all the food can't be grown necessarily in those countries, there's a huge demand for land to grow food on in poorer countries. So there's also an important indirect effect. Then this new context needs to be managed, and in order to promote inclusive and sustainable growth. And here, of course, we have a number of dimensions of inclusive and sustainable growth. Of course, there's an economic angle to it, there's a social angle to it, as well as a sustainability, so an environmental component to this. And I suppose in the energy chapter, we're very much hoping to find sort of win-win situations, triple win situations, where we will find innovations that are good for the economy, that are good for the environment, and that are good for the poor. But in other situations, there might well be trade-offs, and we want to know about them. This consultation is an important stepping stone in a bigger picture, and we've been engaged in thinking about the ERD from the start, kick-off in December last year. And we had our first workshop in London. In March we had the first external workshop in Brussels, and then we had a meeting in Maastricht. And by the way, all the minutes of these meetings are on the web. So the ODI, the DIE, I think, and also ECDPM have project pages, and you can download relevant information there. And there's also, of course, the EU's website that is hosting the information on the ERD process as well. And there will be a number of other workshops coming soon. So put it in your diary, please. The 11th and the 12th of July in Nairobi, where we have the ERD team together with AERC. So we'll be hosting this workshop, and we're hoping to have a number of panels at the ARI-DSA annual meeting in York in September, and we're also thinking about holding maybe country-specific workshops as well, so that we'll reach out even further in terms of countries, so in developing countries as well. But these are official consultations. But there's more you can do. So you can contribute in various ways. We have just started a number of blogs. So there's an EU blog, and there are already 3 or 4 blogs out there. And you can also provide comments on these, and you can also provide your own blogs as well, and you can let us know. We're thinking about articles, so you've got something in your pack, and there's some other things we do to garner interest and also debates. And we like to have debates that can help us to improve the quality of the report, and particularly because it's such a challenging topic, which is not just physicians, it's not just for economists, it's not just for social scientists. It actually tries to bring together different types of expertise, and in order to foster this, we want to have input from all different disciplines, different sides, and bringing that together. Because only when you do that, you can think about really new, innovative solutions to the challenges that we will be presenting. Some of you are already engaged in commission papers, or will be engaged in commission papers, and we hope to hear from some of you. But that's an important route as well, through which you can contribute. And then, of course, we've got the important stuff that we're doing. We've got a team of people working on this. We have the experts from ODI, ECDPM, and DIE, the sector specialists, the private sector specialists, the water specialists, and the energy specialists, working on various parts of the report, and that's very exciting indeed. So that brings me to the end, and that's basically just a short introduction. So that when you think about the discussions in the afternoon and tomorrow, and you think, well, how does it actually relate to the bigger report? At least you've got your one pager, and you can think about how it might relate to the bigger picture. But the purpose of course, this two-day workshop is to think in substantive terms about how the chapters on water and energy could look like, and we'd like to really have your feedback on this now, tomorrow, afterwards as well. So we'd like that. So thank you very much, and I'm hoping it will be an interesting meeting. Thank you.